Welcome to the Inside the Grace Track. My name is Pastor Kevin Robertson, and welcome to another episode of the pandemic and why we're doing these Grace Track interviews. A lot of the reasons I'm doing them is for you to get to know people within our church. And so today I had the privilege of interviewing Ginni Hain, I believe. I'm so bad at last names, but I know I get the first name. Am I right, Ginni Hain?
It's Hain,
Hain.
like rain or like pain.
Ginni Hain, not like I call people by their last name all the time, but Ginni and I were talking prior to the interview, and we were talking about our dreams when we were young. And I remember when I was young in high school, one of my biggest dreams was to be an entrepreneur, to own real estate, and retire at age 30 years old. That's what I wanted to do. And so obviously I'm 57 years old and I'm still working. I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm not very rich, but I'm very content with my life. Life has tendencies to go in a different direction than we expected it. So Ginni, your ambition right after high school, your dream, what was it?
I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and a wife. I just wanted that Leave It to Beaver kind of Ozzie and Harriet thing.
Yes, Leave It to Beaver. Yeah, if you remember, you have to be older.
That's right.
At my age, to understand Harriet, Ozzie and Harriet.
Yeah, stay-at-home moms that wore shirtwaist dresses with aprons.
Stay-at-home mom. So you were on the path to do that, right?
I thought I was, yeah.
Okay, so tell us when you met your husband.
I met my husband after the summer after I graduated high school.
Okay.
And our parents both had homes at the shore, at the southern Jersey shore.
Okay.
And I had a summer job. He had a summer job. And I used to drive into his gas station, which was the only gas station on the island, and get gas.
Okay.
And gas up my car. And he was gorgeous and tan. And I found myself driving my car around to use up the gas so I could go get more gas.
That's funny. And so I assume you began to start dating and then eventually he proposed to you.
Yeah, we were a summer romance and we fell in love. And
it's like the movie Grease. It's a summer romance.
Yeah, it was a summer romance. But so anyway, his baby brother suddenly announced that he was getting married. And we were like, wait a minute, he's younger than we are. And we were talking with him and he's like, yeah, Carol and I just don't want to wait. We're ready to be married. So there you have it. And that ensued, a discussion with us, like, what are we waiting for?
Okay.
So we got married. I was 19.
19 years old. Wow. And so
19.
Basically in high school, right after high school, you're fulfilling the dream that you've always wanted, to stay home with mom and to have a baby. So when did you become pregnant?
I became pregnant in August of 1981. We were married 12 years.
Okay.
Because when I told my mother at 19 that I wanted to get married, she was wondering if I needed to be married, which I did not. So,
right. So you were in your 30s.
I was 32 when Jesse was born. Yep.
32. So it took some time. So basically, Jesse, and I had the privilege of meeting her and her husband. Beautiful daughter. You did an outstanding job raising her and meeting her husband. Just a cute couple. And so you had this kind of fairy tale marriage at the beginning, and then everything's going well. You just had your baby daughter, Jessie. After the 12 years, when did it start going, okay, this is not the fairy tale anymore? This is a problem.
I was pretty oblivious
Okay.
And cutting and not looking at all the flags that were being thrown, and just going, la la la, everything's good, you know. And when Jesse was 10,
okay,
in November of 1992, he came home one night from work and said, I'm out, I'm leaving, I'm done.
And you had no idea?
Zero idea, zero. That's not to say I shouldn't have.
Right. So you were married over 20 years, right?
22 years.
22 years. See, and the thing is, I was married too, in my first marriage. And I think being oblivious or naive or however it is, you just do not expect it to happen to you.
Right.
You just think, well, they're having a bad day, there's something going on, but you never, I don't know, for you never think, because for me, it was one day I thought, okay, things will work out, and then boom, it was over. And
yeah.
It's a shock. So I'm sure that just hit your system, right?
Yeah, I was like in disbelief. And my first reaction was, he's not well. We need help. We need to get to a counselor, doctor, whatever. He's not thinking clearly. He doesn't know what he's doing.
Right.
But indeed, he had been planning this for months, which is,
wow.
And then after he left, and your brain, you're just thinking through everything. Suddenly, every one of those little quirky things, you were going, oh.
Yeah.
And the puzzle parts began to come together. And it was very weird, because things that you had journeyed through together that just felt a little awkward, suddenly the truth was beginning to focus.
And I know with me, it was when those pieces got together and basically accepting the reality of what happened and seeing the pattern of prior to them leaving. You don't go, oh, I just figured it out. For me, it was, how could I be so stupid? How did I do this? I was an idiot, because I was trying to make it work, and I was showing no emotions, no anger, no frustration, because I didn't want to give her any reason to leave.
Right.
So you try to be perfect and try to be happy and all that stuff, and inside you're dying. Was that you?
Yep, absolutely.
Doesn't make
I kept thinking, the phone's going to ring and he's going to be, what was I thinking?
Oh, I know.
Back.
And you have these fantasies, like they're going to ask for forgiveness. They're going to say, I'm sorry, I'll make a ride to you, I owe you. And it's nothing.
Right.
So, okay, so your daughter was 12 years
10
old.
when he left.
10. How do you explain this to a 10-year-old daughter that her father is done?
Well, I went to a therapist to get that question answered properly.
Okay.
Because I did not want to blow this situation.
Right.
Wanted to do it with the best for her. And what we ended up doing at the therapist's recommendation was sitting down with her. And the therapist said, take it from her viewpoint. What's going to change in her life when Daddy leaves?
Right.
And as we worked through her daily life and her activities, the answer was nothing. Because I was doing everything with her. And, taking her to school, taking her to sports, taking her to music lessons, right. Helping her with homework, getting her, And Bill was absent, and he kept telling me he was working late till 10 every night. And I was naive enough to believe it, right. And think, oh, poor Bill, But we talked to Jessie about how this change would impact her life. And basically, sadly, the answer was, it's really not going to impact what you do much at all.
Okay.
Because daddy's not around a lot because he works so much.
Right. And so when he moved out, how was the grief process? Did you get pissed off? Did you get angry? Were you complete sad?
All of that.
Okay. Okay.
And it kept changing, from moment to moment. It would be failure, shame, anger, grief. And a funny part of the grief story is he left in November, and I didn't tell my mother until May.
Wow, that's a long
because
time.
I was so ashamed, and I kept hoping that he'd come back and we wouldn't have to do this.
Right.
But then I made a trip to my mother's house up in New Jersey one weekend. And I said, Mom, I have to talk to you. And she said, yeah, what's up? And I said, Bill left, And she went, well, it's about time.
Oh, are you serious?
I'm like, what? She said, we've all been seeing for years how he has distanced you and, pays, and we were all just waiting for it to happen.
Wow. It's interesting because family can see things more clearly.
Yeah, but nobody's going to tell you.
That's true. They'll talk among each other.
That's right.
But they won't say anything to you directly. And who knows if we would receive it or anything. So obviously there had to be time that you were sitting there going, okay, Lord, because you were a Christian then, right?
Absolutely. Deep in the church.
Okay.
I was chairman of the church's administrative board, and he was chairman of the pastor-parish relations committee.
Oh, good night.
I know. We were upstanding pillars in the church.
Oh, so were you getting, obviously you prayed about it and you said, Lord, change him, heal him and stuff like that, and that wasn't happening. When did it get to the point where or did it ever get to a point where you're just going, you know what? I have to fully accept this. It's not going to happen.
4 years.
4 years.
Mm-hmm. I remember the moment I got out of the shower one morning and was blowing my hair dry and praying. And I remember hearing God say to me these words, it's okay, you are enough.
Wow.
And I was kind of like looking around to see if there was anybody there with me, but God was there with me. But I heard it loud and clear, you are enough.
So then, so your dream to be a mother, at-home mother, was done because there's no way you could stay home now, right?
Well, I had not been at home for a while because our financial situation didn't allow it.
Okay.
So I was the breadwinner. And I kept thinking, he's going to make it big and we're going to have money, small m money.
Right.
And I'll be able to quit and stay home.
Yeah. Because that still was your dream.
Yeah.
Okay. So did there get to a point in your life where you're going, okay, because it's almost you had this feeling of 4 years, God say this, you are enough. And which is an incredible way of hearing this. But after that, did you start thinking things? Because in my case, I started thinking things and I started getting bitter.
Yeah.
And it was like a cycle. And I go, okay, the Lord gave me this sign that, you're going to be okay restoring. I was just getting my ordination that year, the same year that my wife left me. That
wow.
It got to the point now I'm starting to have resentment.
Of course.
And so did did your resentment start growing and growing? I mean, did you hold it for, or are you still holding it? How did that process start with that resentment with him?
There was a lot of resentment, as you might imagine, and a lot. And I carried that resentment for 20 years or more, I don't know. I only really started the journey to unlock that after I came to Marina Christian Fellowship. I thought I was handling it right.
Right.
But come to find out, I wasn't.
Okay, let's unpack this, because this is very fascinating. So we're going to jump here. So your daughter was 10 years old. Now you came to Marina Christian Fellowship 4 years ago?
It'll be 4 years in September.
So we're talking about a long time of resentment.
Yes.
If you're talking about in 1992, and we're talking about 4 years ago, 2016.
Yeah.
And so that's a lot of years.
Yeah.
And I've noticed, like, when you're resentment and bitter, you just learn to manage it. You don't learn to release it. And so there's some days that you don't think about it, but there's some days that I'm sure that they can get triggered real quick, especially if he's not connecting with his daughter the way he should, or promising something and not following through on it, and it reinforces it.
That's right.
So how did you find this funky church?
I moved here in July of 2016, and after kind of getting settled a few weeks, I knew that I needed to join a church because I'd been in the church my whole life. So I Googled churches near me.
Okay.
And a bunch came up, and I started going down the website for every one of them and just kind of seeing what their website said. Mm-hmm. And Marina was on the list. And when I pulled up the website, I was blown away to find that you had Saturday night service. Because I'm a football fan.
Okay.
And moving out here means that the first game on Sunday morning is at 10.
Right.
And those are usually the East Coast games. So I'm like, before I started coming to church after I moved, my son-in-law and daughter and I were going out for brunch on Sunday mornings to a sports bar to watch football.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm like, going to church is going to majorly impact this football watching. And then I saw you guys had Saturday night church, and I'm like, whoa, I got to check this out. So I took myself over on a Saturday night, and Gail Hirami gave me a hug and a bulletin at the front door. And I came to Saturday night church, and been with you ever since.
But okay, now tell me your football team.
The Baltimore Ravens.
Okay, the Baltimore
Arch enemies of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Now, if you don't know, my wife is a hardcore Steeler fanatic too, football fan. I don't watch sports, but I'm married. The guys in my life, they tell me, you have married the perfect wife because she's into sports, she knows sports, knows everything and stuff like that, and you're not into sports. So I don't know how you guys realized, because I remember when we first met, it was in the narthex at the church on a Saturday night, and apparently, was Jennifer wearing a Steeler?
No. You all, after service, we were talking in the narthex because I hadn't talked with you guys before service.
Okay.
And then you guys, came up in the back and we were chatting, and you were like, oh, like, where are you from? And how'd you find us? And, and I blurted out that I found you because I like to watch football on Sunday mornings. And then Jennifer asked me, who's your team? And I said, the Baltimore Ravens. And she said, oh, I'm a Steelers fan. And then I looked her right in the eye and I looked over at you and I went, this is not going to work. And I turned around and walked out of the church. Then I turned around and came back laughing.
But it did work. It did work. And so one thing about Jenny, while you guys are watching and listening, when Jenny gets involved in the church, she gets involved. I mean, it's not like, let me sit in the pew for 4 or 5 years and then figure this out. You just signed up for everything and you got involved. And one of the things too, I think it's interesting, you wanted to be part of the prayer group.
Actually, Kevin, I have to disabuse you of that story. I didn't know anybody when I moved here except my daughter and her husband.
Right.
And my strategy was to join everything I could.
Okay.
And meet as many people as I could. And in my mind, I was like, you know, some of this stuff I'll join, I won't like it, and I'll drop out. But, you know, I just kept joining things and going to things and seeing what would stick.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't that I really wanted to be in the prayer group. I just thought, well, here's a group of people who are going to meet on a Thursday night and, you know, another opportunity for me to meet people. So
right.
Yeah.
So when you first heard about the Grace Track, you were one of the first ones to sign up on I think the first group, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And
beta group.
If you know anything about Grace Track, it was written by Brooke. And so it wasn't something that we went and found in a store or a Christian bookstore and we adopted it. We thought this was very important. And I just went through a recalibration of reprioritizing the church and really looking for transformational and restoration in people's lives. And that's what Grace Track was written about. So when you first got into Grace Track, did you have one of those aha moments like, this is too deep and I don't want to deal with this? Or were you going, oh man, this is great?
I was on the oh man, this is great team.
Okay.
Because I was learning that all the doubts and the inconsistencies in my heart regarding my relationship with God weren't just me. Mm-hmm. That the other classmates around me also had things that they struggled with. And the biggest part of that was that that's okay.
Right.
That's okay. And to me, it was so amazing to know that it was okay to wonder. And it was okay to, I don't want to use the word disagree because I don't mean that, but it's okay to question or to be confused and to not know the answer. That's okay. That's part of the journey. And God loves you anyway.
Right.
You know, and if you think of him as your father, you think of how you love your kids. And, you know, if they're confused or they get the wrong answer or whatever, you just say, that's okay. Try it again. It's all right. Mm-hmm. And so Grace Trek, like other experiences I've had at Marina, brought that home again and again and again. It just made me feel so comfortable. Mm. That's not to say it doesn't push you to think about thorny things. It does. Right. But I didn't feel inadequate.
Right.
Because of the way it was presented so beautifully. You know, grace, just a big bucket of grace.
Right. And so, and there are periods that, you know, not only our ex-spouses, but sometimes we have family members that have drive us nuts too, that you're just going, oh man, I did not pick this family. I don't know how I got this family. And so during Grace Track or during the years prior to this, you were saying, I had this anger and this bitterness for a long time towards my ex. And and all of a sudden you're taking Grace track. Was there an aha moment that you just clicked that you go, oh, wow, I'm getting it? Or is it still a process?
I think it's a combination of both, but for me, it's still a process. But it was unlocking that door of grace for everybody, not just me. That's like, oh, he gets grace too.
Right.
Oh, okay. And then having to kind of think through that. You know, God loves him just as much as he loves me. Okay. Yeah. And that part is the process, is the, okay, he's a child of God. All right. Okay.
And it's almost hard for me as when I understand the grace that I have received and fully accept that, then I can begin the process of giving grace. But I've noticed that it's hard to give grace when I've never experienced it.
Absolutely.
As a person, and forgiveness and stuff like this. And everyone says forgiveness that lets you off the hook, it doesn't let them off the hook. There's all these cliches about forgiveness. But it's just unforgiveness for me. It was protecting myself. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to get hurt again. So I put these emotional walls around me to do this, because you kind of look at your spouse or your ex-spouse and go, you destroyed my dreams.
Mm-hmm.
This is not what it was supposed to happen. And so
you destroyed my dreams and you think you're off the hook.
Yeah.
That's like, really?
Absolutely. And so have you noticed since the process that life is a little lighter for you or heavier? I don't want to put words in your mouth or
we had our first Grace Trek check-in the other day, kind of a check-in with the Grace Trek alums. How you doing? What's life, you know, what's shaking in your life? And I shared that what I think Grace Trek did in my life was opened my door. First, it allowed me to accept grace the way you just described me for everything I continue to do wrong. But then extend that grace to others.
right.
And in a very odd and random way for me. I had a plumber in my house a couple of weeks ago, and long story, I won't tell you what happened, but he ended up in tears. And I prayed with him. And I'm like, it's going to be okay. You know, God gave you a body that experiences frustration and anger and disappointment and all these things. God built those emotions into you, and they're there for a reason. And, you know, don't feel shameful about feeling those. You know, I'm going to pray for you right now. And we had this great conversation with the plumber, you know, I never met before. But it's like, when I meet someone now, not all the time, but the Holy Spirit, whatever, sends a thought through my head, pray for them. You know, somebody walking by with a stroller, somebody delivering groceries, it's like, pray for them. It's an acknowledgement and a feeling that they're part of God's kingdom.
Right.
And it's not just you and me and the people at church. It's everybody. Yeah. And for me, that's just been a kind of a very new and weird feeling to look at the guy who's trimming the bushes outside and just pray for him. And I think that's kind of come over me since I took Grace Trek.
And I think it's very interesting too, because I want to kind of do a lead in, and then I want to close the interview out. But what I've noticed that during this pandemic, you know, that this is bad for you, because you have health issues.
Right.
And what are your health issues?
That's a HIPAA violation. I'm teasing. I love to tease you. You're the best. I have chronic lung disease, and I have a severely compromised immune system.
Okay, so you've been in your apartment in Playa Vista.
And I'm old.
You've been in your apartment in Playa Vista, and you haven't left your apartment at all. You have groceries delivered to you, and you haven't seen your daughter face to face.
My precious grandchildren.
How long have you been in there?
Today is day 42.
Okay, 42 days that you've been in your apartment.
Well, I have snuck out once or twice, but with gloves and a mask, like once or twice.
That doesn't count to get the mail.
Yeah.
So this is where I just, and I think I talked to you in private about this, because I'm going crazy. And I have my office right next to the church. I can go there. I get in the car, I go for walks and stuff like this, and I communicate. But if I had to stick in that house for 42 days and with no, it's almost like a sentence, like a prison sentence for me. I don't know how long I have to stay here. And how do you get the attitude that you have now, that it's okay, it's all going
It's okay. I'm so blessed, Kevin. I'm just blessed beyond measure. I have a bed to sleep in. I got food, Netflix. I mean, I have a retirement income.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm blessed beyond measure. Mm-hmm. And just so thankful. Like, why me? Why do I get to be blessed when there's so much pain in the world and so many people who are desperate? I don't know why. Yeah. But I am. And for that, I am exceptionally thankful and happy.
Okay. So what would you say to people that are thinking about taking Grace Track?
I would heartily recommend it. I'm going to be happy to talk to anybody who wants to chat about it. I think from the friends I've made in Grace Track, God has a different message for each one of us that is tailored just for us. Mm-hmm. And, if you interview Grace Track people, I'm sure you get different stories from everybody you talk to. Right. That's because, our God is so big. He just meets you right where you need to be met. And he knows me. And he knows what I'm thinking. So it's not hard for him to do that. And
he loves you.
And he loves me too. Go figure.
Yeah. And one thing I've noticed, he loves me for who I am.
Exactly.
And that's one of the things in Grace Track, because we always compare ourselves to other people. We always think because we grow up and being divorced as well, that love is so based on conditions. It's conditional love. And I think for me in Grace Track and understanding, God loves me unconditionally. And he just loves me for who I am. And that is the best love that you can receive. And once you live out of that love, it's the best type of love that you can give as well.
Amen.
So, thank you so much. I appreciate and love you, and appreciate it. One of these days, you'll have this big front door as the tomb turns around, and you'll go, I am risen out of my first-story apartment. And so one day we will look forward to seeing each other face to face, and looking forward to seeing each other in church again. And I'm sure you're looking forward to holding your grandchildren.
Yep.
That's one thing that we have to look forward to. And so thank you so much for listening and watching our podcast. If you thought this was important, please share it. Or if you have any comments, just comment below. God bless you and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.